Are you not entertained?
Oh, are you? Are you not entertained? Here it comes, baby.
Throwing the sword up into the stands. J.J. Watt, maybe he will entertain us because he's entertaining the possibility of emerging from retirement during the season to play for the Texans. Here he is on that possibility.
And I'm a very fortunate, lucky man. I got a beautiful wife. I got a beautiful son. I've had 12 great years in this league, and I'm very thankful to have walked away healthy and playing great. I told D'Amico last year, I said, don't call unless you absolutely need it, but if you ever do call, I'll be there. But he knows not to call unless he absolutely needs it. This is the last year I'll tell him that, because I'm not going to keep training the way I've been training, but he knows that if he ever truly does need it, I'll be there for him. But I don't anticipate that happening. They got a very good crew.
Keeping the door open for possibly playing for the Texans. You know, there was thought in the past that maybe he would end up with the Steelers, playing with his brother.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a crazy
I'm
proposition.
with you. Right.
And if this is the last year he's going to train like that, this is the last chance to do it. This is your last shot to come back for one final opportunity at pursuing the Super Bowl ring he never won. He never even got to a Super Bowl. What's the closest he ever got?
Divisional playoff game.
Divisional round game?
Yeah.
The Texans have never been to an AFC championship.
Nope.
And then he went to the Cardinals after that, and that was after the sunset on the Cardinals teams that were, pretty good within the past 7 or 8 years. So, yeah, if he fits perfectly within this mindset of pick a contender that has a need, kind of the Ndamukong Suh approach the past couple of years, although Suh never came back and played last year. Wait for the right moment, get on the winning horse at the right time, and help propel that horse across the finish line. That's what J.J. Watt could be doing. And I don't think he's restricting it to the Texans. He's just sharing his conversation with D'Amico Ryans, the head coach of the Texans. He's a free agent. He's not on anyone's reserve retired list. Most recently, he played for the Cardinals. He's free and clear. He can go anywhere, anytime he wants, up to and including right before the Super Bowl. He could sign with a team. He can sign anytime, any place, anywhere he wants to go.
Yeah, and I would say that, I know we talked like 2 weeks ago with Brady and him making his comments and all of that stuff, right? And I was kind of like, I don't think that's really going to happen. This is one where I kind of go, I could see this happening. I could, for the reasons he spoke about. One, he's not out of the game too long. He's still at an age where, hey, he's still physically fit and, and a young man compared to the rest of, society, not in football world, but for the rest of the world, he's still a young man. And, he's pretty open there about he's still staying in shape within football terms in shape. That's obvious in his mind. He's still obviously doing football type of workouts to be ready there. So I'm with you in that, Mike, that would I be shocked if some contender or whatever else and they decide to call a J.J. Watt in week 14 and go, hey, we need an interior D lineman. We got 2 or 3 weeks left here at the end of the regular season. Why do you come here, start getting in shape, get going, so you can be a real, helper for our playoff run here? I don't think that would be far-fetched. Houston, the Steelers, there's probably a few other teams out there too that he'd jump on and be a part of that, little chase for the Super Bowl.
And a lot of it is driven by injuries and also opportunity to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And possibly win one. He's 35, turned 35 on March 22nd, and he's had plenty of injuries. And he keeps fighting. And there was one occasion where he was in Philly. I think he had a hernia, and some of his quotes about just the despair. It's amazing he played as long as he did, because that's one of the things I respect the most, especially the guys closer to the ball. The closer to the ball you get, the more likely you are to get injured repeatedly and have to go through surgical procedures to get yourself back onto the field. You get injured, you bottom out, you do everything necessary to get yourself in a position where you can play again. Your body is a temple. You get it ready to go, and then you put yourself right back in harm's way, knowing more likely than not, you're going to be right back in that spot again with some other injury. And then you work to get yourself back into tip-top form as close to 100% as possible, and you go do it again. That is impressive. Some would say it's on the wrong side of sanity, but it is amazing.
Yeah, right.
for him, where he is right now, I think the farther removed you get from the pain and the agony and the despair and the oh God,
and his body's healed and he probably feels good.
Yeah, you feel good.
Yeah,
you feel good.
Right.
And you also feel a void.
Right.
You feel a void in your career. Every year you see another team hoisting that trophy and getting their rings, and that's got to gnaw at you. And it's not just him. There's guys all throughout history. That was one of the big topics at the roast last night, how Randy Moss was one of the few guys who played with Tom Brady who didn't get a ring during his career. That kept going and going and going. It was a running bit the whole freaking night.
Yeah, him and Wes
Watt's
Welker, right?
He's got to be feeling that idea that I didn't get my ring.
Yeah, no.
Wes wasn't there.
Yeah.
Wes wasn't there.
No, yeah.
Your guy Kyle was there, not on the dais. Your guy Kyle was there in the audience.
Damn, they didn't get him on the dais. They didn't get him up there. Gosh, that's I'm disappointed in him. I thought he was bigger than that. Not that big time sitting in the audience. But yeah, it sounds like the NFL elite was there in full capacity last night. And J.J. Watt, teams that are contenders, right? Ex-coaches that have relationships with him that are throughout the league, are they on any of the contenders? I think those are things we got to kind of watch out for. I mean, I think that's legitimately putting it out there when he says it that way. But, man, you just think about teams like, oh, wait, if Detroit got into week 16, 15, and they needed somebody, man, J.J. Watt seems like he'd be Dan Campbell kind of guy, right? The Rams and McVay, right, we're in trouble. Wait, one of our D tackles isn't ready. It's week 13. Like, hey, J.J. Watt, you want to come play? There's certainly a number of teams in football where I feel like you can look at J.J. Watt and go, yeah, that team I think would be open to having him in there, and if he's ready to go, I think he'd think about it here, at this point of his life.
I could envision a scenario where they would be blowing the horn in Minnesota for J.J. Watt if things go well this year offensively and they click, and Brian Flores would scheme up some ways to get the most out of J.J. Watt for the last half of the season. So I think that, number one, he knows what he's doing by saying what he said.
Yeah.
Just like Tom Brady 3 weeks or so ago. We've heard nothing to suggest any team is seriously considering trying to call Brady now. We'll see during the season when injuries happen. And I'm tempted to say inevitably, but I don't know whether 2023 was an aberration or a start of a new trend.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden quarterbacks are getting injured everywhere.
Right.
That's not how it usually is.
No.
But every time a quarterback gets injured, because of what he said on that podcast where he was getting his hair cut or something, or maybe getting his plugs tuned up. But as at least Peyton Manning did go there with the hair joke. I didn't think anybody would have the guts to say a hair joke, but he did make a hair joke about Brady last night. So well done, Peyton. I think everybody else was afraid to say anything about Tommy's hair. But during that podcast, he made it clear that it would be something where he'd be showing up to play for a team that loses its starter. Every time somebody loses the starter, it's the first topic. Is that the team Tom Brady would go play for? And it really will be awkward if Brady's in the booth calling the game when the starting quarterback goes down. And Kevin Burkhardt, I think, is duty-bound to ask Brady in the moment, is this one of the teams you'd play for?
Right. And we hear a phone ringing in the back of the room and off the Fox, microphones, and we start to go, oh, damn, Brady, it's Don Yee. They're calling already. They need a quarterback. They want to know right here in live time what you think about it. I hear you. I mean, again, I don't feel like that's going to happen with Brady. I think there's a better chance with JJ, but I'm certainly not going to cancel it out. I know that. We'll see. We'll see where it all goes.
I've already said Brady should be like the guy who drives a Zamboni at the hockey games who serves as the emergency goalie. Just have him show up. Dan Patrick, I was on with him. He said, hey, just have him wear pads and a helmet in the broadcast booth, ready to go.
Right.
Quarterback gets injured, run down there, put the right jersey on, and off you go. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.